Boroughs, episode 36. Kevin Bunk, Michael Merlo coming to you every week throughout baseball season, talking Yankees, talking Mets. And today we have a big one on the docket. I know you're thinking, well, it's first week of March. What could they possibly be talking about? Somehow, a lot of stuff. Mike, great to be back. As always, big episode. And I throw the question to you right away. Does Juan Soto miss playing in the Bronx?
How do you I don't know how Martino goes on baseball night in New York yesterday and says this. I don't get it unless he was literally speaking to Juan Soto when he said this. And is it really a surprise? Is it really a story? I mean, he had a great season with the Yankees. I'm sure he made a ton of, really great connections in the Bronx. He's no longer playing there. And he's just starting up with the new team. He might miss the Yankees. Yeah, but is that a story? No, I don't really think it's a story.
That is one of those, it's the first week of March, I have nothing to talk about, so let me just throw this out there that Soto might miss the Yankees, and then a couple idiots will start talking about my report, just as we're doing right now. And
if I see one more Yankee page on Twitter post about this, I'm going to freak out, though. That's the problem.
Because now it's being taken seriously, and obviously Soto didn't say anything along these lines. We were talking about it before. The only possible scenario to this being somewhat true and saying that he misses them is still misleading is just saying, Soto doesn't have ill will towards the Yankees. It was a great experience for him to be in New York, to be in the Bronx. He cherished it. But he's still happy to be on the Mets. He's not longing to go play for the Yankees right now. He's happy to be with the Mets, and that's that. And not for nothing, but he is a Yankee. And, I mean, he is a Met, and he's going to be a Met for the next 15 years. He's going to be a Met for the rest of his career. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame as a Met. And I'm at a point where I could be done talking about it now that baseball's being played.
Right. You're just talking about the player and what he's going to do this season for a team in this city, and you hope that, he's producing at a level that he was, or at least close to it was last season. So, yeah, it's crazy when I saw this. And then I actually had seen it after the fact. And before I had seen it, I saw the video of Soto and Jose Siri and Marte and Alvarez and a couple of the other minor leaguers, joking around, laughing in the back of the dugout last night during the Mets spring training game. And it was I'm like, wow, that's funny. That's just look at them. They're literally just goofing off, they're high schoolers, in the dugout. And then I saw the report after that. So I was like, this is so confusing.
Yeah, he absolutely is enjoying his time at the Mets and seeing them in the dugout. You just see it. The way they interact, the way he interacts, it reminds me of last season where you maybe were only concerned about Soto as a person and as a teammate after that Padres disaster. And there were the rumors that Soto is not a great teammate. Soto doesn't really care about the team. He's very self-oriented, which might be true to an extent, is definitely true to an extent when you see the contract he got, when you see the way he plays. But he came to the Yankees spring training last year, and immediately we threw all that stuff out the window because he does get along with his teammates like this. He does put on a great display of having fun while he plays. So I don't know why Martino's making this a story. I think it's such a stupid one. He's not a Yankee. He's never going to be a Yankee again. And that's it. I don't care if he misses him or not. Pointless story.
Yeah, pointless story. Move on.
Real stories, though, include Mets starting pitching. Get to see Senga throw this week. Peterson. Yeah. Where are you standing right now, Mets starting pitching?
They looked good last night. Senga looked really good last night. Peterson was even better, 5 strikeouts, and I think it was 2 or 3 innings. I'm pretty sure 3. Very, very dominant. Senga mixed in some new pitches. I think the biggest thing for Senga is just going to be health, right? I think we know he can pitch. So if Senga's healthy, that's good. I think you're going to get quality innings out of him. I think Peterson is a little bit of a regression candidate, as a lot of people like to talk about at this time in the year. His expected ERA wasn't the greatest, but, he had talked about going back to last season, how the hip surgery he had in the offseason of leading into 2024 was making the difference for him in the 2024 season. So he kept harping on that when they interviewed him after the outing last night. And you just hope it continues, and you hope that he's able to parlay last season into this season, and hopefully it's another good one.
Yeah, I like Senga a lot. Same boat as everybody else. Can he stay healthy? And that is very concerning for me. But right now, the starting pitching, it doesn't get any more inspiring for me as days go by. And if Peterson is a regression candidate and Manaea and Montas do miss that first month, 6 weeks of the season, which I don't know if Manaea is going to, I think he is. I think that Montas might miss longer than that. But if Peterson regresses right away, that's really concerning for the Mets because
Yeah.
basically just Senga. The thing with Holmes for me, I'm not going to sit here and say Holmes is just going to suck right off the rip. That's what I did last year with Severino. He sucked in his first start. He was really good the rest of the season. But Holmes, the problem early in the season, even if he's pitching well, which I actually think he's going to be solid, but even if he's pitching well, I don't see him going past 4.5, 4 2/3, 5 innings in the first month of the year. He's going to take a little while to get stretched out. And I think he's going to have some serious accuracy issues early on in his starting career because it is tough to go through the lineup a few times when he never did. So then you're taxing your bullpen early on in the year. And you look at the rest of the guys, I don't expect Holmes to go far, but I don't expect Blackburn, Canning, or Senga to go far to start the year either. Peterson's really the only candidate I have that I think could be a real 5 innings plus starter right out of the gate.
The one thing about Holmes is he came into spring training ahead of schedule. I mean, he came into spring training ready to go, 3 innings, 3 innings. I mean, I think the first week he was throwing simulated games. His first simulated game was a 3 inning simulated start. So he came in ahead of schedule. So I think that he's been working towards this, knowing that he was going to have this challenge of not going deep into games for probably since college, right? Or early in his major league career. He came in ready to go. Again, like every pitcher, it's going to be health, but I'm not too concerned about that as long as he stays healthy the rest of spring. I think he'll be able to go at least 5 to start the year. Obviously, bad starts can derail that, but I think Holmes will be fine to start this season in terms of giving you some sort of length. He's not going deep into games, but enough to get wins.
What is the deal with, I know that he's a minor league guy, but Max Kranick, who we see obviously, and Mets Twitter has brought him to my attention because, of course, you get the team Twitter aggregators, like whatever accounts that are just fan accounts, and they post, this guy looks great, this guy looks awesome. And he's really a nobody in Major League Baseball, was in the Pirates organization. Is he a guy that you think could potentially be slotted in at the bottom of this rotation while guys are hurt?
I think you need one more injury plus, which would just be awful, and then plus a continued success here in spring training. I think he has a real shot to make the team, Kevin. I think he could be valuable out of the bullpen, but I don't think he's going to be in the starting rotation. But I think the way he's pitched so far in spring training, he should at least have a pretty good chance of making the team.
What about Nimmo here? Obviously, is the knee injury, but
I'm worried.
He says he's not. I think we should be. I don't know if opening day is out of the question yet, but the problem for me in this outlook is I don't see how this goes away throughout the season. This is going to be something that sounds like that reoccurs throughout the year. And for an outfielder, a knee injury that won't go away is not really what you want to start a season.
Well, I've been worried about Nimmo for a little while. I think I've expressed to you that I wasn't too excited about Nimmo even during the offseason. He had the plantar fasciitis late in the year, and that really derailed him in the postseason. He still played hard. He did what he could, but I mean, he was playing in pain, and he wasn't good down the stretch. We know how he was in the second half. He was almost non-existent in that lineup. I seriously have concerns about him because the injuries have always been a thing with him. Now, the last 2 seasons, he stayed healthy. He has stayed relatively healthy, played a lot of games, and he's kind of made people forget about that. But for me, it's always in the back of my mind. I am never confident this guy is going to stay healthy. And after 2 or 3 seasons of him playing 150 games plus, now I think we're going to start to see it on the tail end, especially this is an 8-year contract, Kevin. This is going to end up, even though the AAV is not high, this is going to end up being a bad contract. And I'm seriously concerned about what Brandon Nimmo is going to be able to produce this season because he's going to be hitting in the top 5 of this lineup, at least to start the year. So I have my concerns here with Nimmo. I really do.
How old is he? 31?
He's not young.
think he's 30. Well, I'm looking right now. Yeah, 31 years old. He's going to be 32 on opening day. So
Happy birthday.
yeah, when's the Mets first game?
March 27th.
Yep, that's a birthday. Okay.
Wow.
Yep.
Birthday
So March
homer,
27th,
maybe.
1993. Happy birthday, Brandon Nimmo, on opening day. But his contract is 8 for 162, so it's 20 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a bad way to start year 3 of an 8-year contract, and 20 a year for a guy like Nimmo, I still think is too significant for me to just sit here and say, oh, well, Cohen will buy it out if it stinks in a year or two. That's a little bit of a serious amount of money, $20 million a year. And Nimmo, obviously a guy that we love, but I'm worried
Maybe
about
he proves me wrong, but I have no expectations. I'm concerned about him.
Especially after what we saw last year from him in early summer specifically. That was a concerning sign of regression. We thought he was regressing. And where's the data to show that guys who have a down year at 31 go back to having up years at 32, 33, 30? It just doesn't really happen, especially when we're already hearing about injuries. You already had the plantar fasciitis to end the season last year, which is one that just ruins players for whatever.
That literally never goes away.
No, it doesn't. It just destroys players' careers, it seems like. And for humans in general, it doesn't go away. But destroys players' careers. So if Nimmo was to get shut down at any point in the season, who is the replacement?
So Winker would be the replacement.
Winker, yeah.
But now you have your DH spot, which is no longer a platoon, and now it's Marte, who's also never healthy. So I'm fine with Winker going out there. I like Winker. I think he's a productive player. That's perfectly fine. But now you're opening your DH spot, and who takes that role? Is it Beatty? On days where you need a lefty? Who the hell knows? But also, can I say this about Nimmo? And maybe you have a comp in Yankee land for this. Nimmo was never this projected star, right? Nimmo was never this guy that was supposed to be this superstar player, even just like a, top end player. He was, I think, especially when he came up, like you thought he would be this productive player, but nothing crazy. And he's turned into a pretty decent player, but he's also become a leader on this team because he's been on the team for so long. And he's very outspoken now. And he really speaks his mind. And is, by all accounts, is a good relationship with ownership as well. He has too many of these little nagging injuries for him to be this big time leader. It doesn't go well with me. It doesn't go well. It doesn't sit well.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but I don't necessarily think at this stage of Nimmo's career, if he stunk at baseball at this point, if he was 35 and this contract's just, withering away every day and it's just a waste of money, then I'd say he's got to take a step back as a leader in the clubhouse. But the fact that when he still plays, he is able to play and perform makes me say, he still, I think, is eligible to be an outspoken voice in the clubhouse. However, clubhouse is getting crowded now. Nimmo got good at a time where it was really just Alonso and Nimmo playing good baseball. 2019, 2018.
Yeah.
Those were the only guys. Now, Lindor, I think, is the leader in the face of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Soto has every right now to step up and say, I am going to lead this team with Lindor. And the Mets have given him the power to do that. Just because Soto's the only guy in the locker room that's sitting there saying, 15 years from now, I'm going to be here. None of you are going to be here. Probably 10 years from now, he's the only guy left there. So he has the power to do that as well. Where does Nimmo fall into that? Because he falls behind Alonso in that pecking order. Also, he could fall behind a lot of guys. So I don't know where he fits in as that leader we spoke about last April, last June.
I'm going to say something I don't want to say, but I'm going to say it. I'm impartial here. Does this not feel like the DJ LeMahieu contract after the first season he got it, where after the first year it was a down year and he was banged up, and obviously Nimmo's contract's a lot richer, It's $70 million more richer. But does it not sort of feel like the DJ LeMahieu contract where after the first year or two, you're like, it's only $15 million, but this is going to be a pain in the ass?
Well, that was the first guy that I had thought of when you said, do you have a Yankee comparison? The only reason I didn't go there is because I don't know if LeMahieu was ever outspoken as a leader on the team.
That's the one thing. If LeMahieu was outspoken.
Yeah, now, I mean, you could see it, right? Because 2020, he has the big year, COVID year, hits 364, and then first full season with that contract, which I think was just the first season anyways with that contract. I think he got it after the COVID year. But 2021, he hits 268, 349 on base. So you're saying, all right, down year for him, played 150 games. What'd you say? OPS? 711.
Yeah, okay, down year.
And then 734 OPS the year after. Kind of the same exact season. Couple points up in on base, couple points up in OPS, but kind of the same year. And then 2023 was when it really took a dive, hitting 243, still 718 OPS, but hitting 243 for LeMahieu when his calling card was hitting for average was big. And last year he was an obvious disaster. So I could see Nimmo going in that trend where year 3 or 4 of that deal, he is just almost unplayable in the outfield, and he won't ever again in his career have the bat that you can justify DHing him. So that obviously you can't do. I could see this in 4 years. That's a good point. I could see this in 4 years being a disaster for the Mets. Not that they can't get over it at that point, but
one of my better comparisons.
That was a good one. Statistically, it's the same track really, because Nimmo went from in 2023, his OPS was
829.
His OPS 829, and then in 2024 it was 727. That's a huge drop off, and now dealing with the nagging injuries, very, very, very concerning.
I mean, two of his best seasons of his career in 22 and 23. And then he has last year where it looked like he should have been an all-star. Legitimately should have been an all-star in the first half of the year, and then completely fell off.
Because I remember us sitting here July-ish, probably right around the all-star break, when that slump was in its real heat. Because we sat here in April and May talking about, while the Mets were not good, saying, Nimmo, this guy's such a leader, such a great leader. He might be the best player on the team all around. He's just such a solid baseball player, always consistent.
We were talking about where he's going to rank all time as a Met.
We
had that conversation.
And he would have been, the way he was tracking at that moment was he was going to be very high on every Mets all-time list.
Yeah.
And then we were sitting there probably early August saying, what happened to Brandon Nimmo? And we know now, nagging injuries. Same thing with LeMahieu. They never have that going to miss the rest of the season, has to get surgery, going to miss 4 months, has to get surgery. They never have that injury. It's always, this is nagging him a little bit. We're a little concerned about it, but we think he'll be good in 2-3 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks comes, he's shut down completely. 2 or 3 more weeks go by. Reactivated, reneges injury, plays a little bit, stinks. That's just what goes down with these little injuries. So worrisome with Nimmo.
Nimmo might be playing today. He's not. He's playing. He's going to play during this week at some point. But Jose Siri's playing, the best outfielder in baseball. He'll be playing today. But Mendoza says he's not worried. Mendoza says he's going to get in a game this week. Who the hell knows?
Yep, exactly. Do you want to predict Mets lineup now or go to the end?
Yeah, let's predict the Mets lineup here. Because we did the Yankee lineup last week, and I was thinking yesterday, driving in the car, I was like, and I can't believe I'm saying this is going to sound crazy, and maybe I'm going to go back on it, especially after the Nimmo news, but I was sort of likening the idea of Nimmo hitting 4th. I think you had brought it up a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And because Nimmo gets on base, I think getting on base ahead of Vientos hitting 5 would be a good thing.
Yeah, well, the lineup I think they're going to go with, if everybody's healthy, Nimmo definitely changes things. This is the lineup I think they'd go with, not the one I would go with, but it would be
Mhm.
Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Vientos, and then probably Winker, Alvarez, McNeil, Siri.
Yeah.
But that top five would be what you just said. Put Vientos at the 5. I would swap Vientos and Alonso in that scenario,
Right.
but
Okay.
not the end of the world, whichever way you want to do it. I think either player produces more in the 3.
So what would your lineup be?
I would do that exactly
Full.
that, except I would swap the 3 and the 5. I would have Vientos hit third.
Okay. And I think I think I would go I would go Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos, Nimmo, Winker, Alvarez, McNeil, Siri.
And I think that Vientos is already a better hitter than Alonso. That's why I'm going there. And I want to make sure that I have, out of these guys, I turn this player into a cost-controlled star hitter for us. And I think the place to put a guy to turn him into that is behind Soto and Lindor.
Okay.
But Nimmo in the 4, the problem is if he has a 700 OPS, you can't justify it.
No.
The dream for the Mets is Alvarez finally takes that leap.
Mm-hmm.
And he becomes a player that I know it would be very righty heavy in the middle of that order, but he would become a player that could create almost a murderer's row in the top 5 of Lindor, Soto, Vientos, Alonso, Alvarez. However you want to
kind of,
it
and then Nimmo, Winker. I mean, it just adds even more. What would that season look like? Does he have to hit 25, 30 home runs? What is that for him to take that next step? Because I think I'm very down on him. Like, I had this really hot take the other day. I heard Luis Torrens is swinging the bat real well, according to Pete Alonso. And then you see it in spring training, and he actually has been swinging the bat well. I was joking around with my friends the other day. I was like, I think Torrens is going to be the starting catcher in July. But I honestly hope that's not the case. But what kind of season would Alvarez have to have, like stat line wise, for you to say, yeah, he took that next step?
I would need to see probably 25, 30 home runs. And last year he only hit 11 in 100 games. So I would need to see 25, 30. And his OPS has to get to at least 830. And he hasn't come close to it.
Yeah.
So
he's got to get in the 800s. He's got to,
because last year he was terrible, Mike. You look back at the stats, I can't even believe we had arguments with Mets fans about it because we were both on the same page. He had a 710 OPS last year with 11 home runs and 47 RBIs in 100 games. That's terrible. And he was not the best defensive catcher on his team.
No, he got off to a really great start too, and then tailed off after the first 2 weeks. He got hurt. That led to it as well. And after that, the thumb injury, what do they call that? It was the UCL, something like that. He had the surgery. He missed about 2 months, came back, may have rushed him back, and he just wasn't good down the stretch. He did not help this team in a big way. And Luis Torrens was very productive, especially while he was out. So, yeah, I think Torrens is going to play a major part on this team, and I would not predict that Alvarez breaks out here. I can't predict that.
And Alvarez doesn't get on base at all. His on-base percentage for the 2 full seasons he's played, 2022 is a wash. He played 5 games, and even then it's not good. The 2 full seasons he's played, his on-base percentage is 284 in 2023 over 123 games played. And you know what? You say, fine, he's a rookie. That year he also hit 25 home runs. He had 63 RBIs. You'll take that production from a rookie. Then he needed to take the leap, and his on-base percentage was 307 last year. So I don't trust him at all to get on base, to move the baton, which the Mets have to prioritize at the top of this order. Because the way I think Soto impacts a team in the biggest way he does it. Yes, he gets clutch hits. Yes, he shows up in big moments. But really, think about all the big moments he showed up for in the Yankees last year. It's about 5 games in the clutch final 9 outs. It's about 5 games that he actually did it. And that's amazing in a season. But what does he give you every night? He gives your team more at-bats every single night. And I think Lindor does that. Soto does that. So now we have to make sure Vientos does it, Alonso does it, and Alvarez does it, because I think Nimmo will do it also. So
Yeah, but we'll do
who
it.
are the guys that are just going to keep pressure on the pitchers and keep the lineup moving? That's who I need to identify if I'm Mendoza. And if Torrens is better than Alvarez at it, that's who I'm going with in June and July, because you don't have time in the National League right now, especially in the East, to sit here and let this rookie develop when he's got a 285 on base, a 700 OPS, and he's hit 4 home runs in 2 months.
And he can't defend, and Torrens throws guys out better and defends better.
Exactly.
Now,
You
I
can't
know they
sit
love throwing to Alvarez. I know these pitchers love throwing to Alvarez. I don't know if that was, just the pitcher saying that, but whatever. Torrens throws guys out. You see it. He's basically elite at that. If it has to be Torrens, I don't care that Alvarez was your top prospect. Then it has to be Torrens.
Yeah, and now I think we also have to just get rid of that notion with these guys, because I've said the same thing this offseason about Anthony Volpe. You're going into year 3 now. Just because you were a top prospect for Alvarez, top prospect in the league for a short period of time, doesn't matter anymore. We're trying to win a World Series. And if that's going to be a holdup in our quest to do that, after I just gave $800 million to the best young player in baseball, then you're off the team. Not that you're going to get cut, but you know what? You got to earn your spot. Everyone here has got to earn their spot. And if you're going to be playing average defense at best and giving me the stats you gave me last year at the plate, we can find an easy replacement here. Alvarez is not 2024 Francisco Alvarez in a league with almost no good catchers is not hard to replace at all.
No. You got a guy on your team that would replace him very well.
You do. You have a guy, and you have guys all over the league, backup catchers that I think are better than Alvarez was last year. And the thumb injury could have played a massive role. So
I'm a big Torrens fan, by the way. Big Louis Torrens.
I am too. Defensively, he's just like a marvel to watch. Would you trade Francisco Alvarez for Aaron Judge?
So there's a little background there. So that's JM's brother. And in 2023, when Alvarez broke into the league basically and went on that, he had that run, I think in the middle of the year, and Judge was still having a great year, but I had said I don't know if I would trade Alvarez at that point for Aaron Judge. He had just come up. He was the top prospect. He had all these home runs. And yeah, I actually remember when I sent that out too. I sent that text out and I was like, I might have even tweeted it. I think I deleted the tweet though, but I might have even tweeted it. And
I had a very similar argument during Judge's 61 home run season. Obviously, it was a contract year. Everyone decided the Yankees were going to lose him that offseason. But I had this almost same argument about Adley Rutschman. And Mikey Dent, who we've gone to school with, was the person who brought it up to me. And what people don't realize about the shelf, everyone likes to throw in age. Catcher is such a premium defensive position. The shelf life of catchers is like 2.5 good seasons in today's MLB. So,
like elite catchers.
I'm going to take my chances that Judge at 37 is better than Rutschman or Alvarez at 28 or 29 still. And that might be crazy to say, but I have a feeling Judge is going to be hitting in 4 or 5 years at a better level than those guys ever hit in their entire career.
Yeah, I think Judge could hit lefty better than Alvarez could hit right now in a full season. Be honest with you, that's how I feel about Francisco Alvarez.
If Judge did not swing the bat the entire season, he would get on base more times than Francisco Alvarez.
That's a good point.
And I guarantee that. I guarantee that pitchers would walk Judge more times than Alvarez would get on base if he didn't touch the bat. If he walked into the box with nothing in his hands.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I hate to agree with you, but might have to.
All right, well, we can move on now. Luis Gil got shut down for the Yankees.
Not good.
Bad. Very bad. You made a video about it last night, but lat strain, he shut down for 6 weeks. Obviously, this is where Stroman now becomes valuable to the Yankees. He's going to be their 5th starter. Don't love it. Gil, I think, we knew he had the injury concerns last year. He had a nice season, rookie of the year, and he is shut down now. I don't have huge expectations for Gil this year. I'm a big Clark Schmidt guy. He's the young arm in the staff that I look at and say, this is who I think is going to be good for the Yankees. He had the same injury last year, but I don't have a good feeling about this Gil injury at all.
You're not happy about it. I will say this, and I know people don't love Stroman, and I cannot stand Stroman, and I wouldn't want him on my team. He's a real good insurance policy if a guy goes down to be your 5. I will say that. It's $17 million a year. I understand nobody likes that. But for you to lose Luis Gil, who was the rookie of the year for the first, we'll call it 3 months, right? I think the same thing. I think Montas has the same injury. They're going to be out 3 months. You sent me the thing. Schmidt had the same injury last year. He missed a little bit over 3 months. So let's just call it 3 months. I'm pretty happy that the guy they're slotting in is Marcus Stroman and it's not some other random guy. It's not Griffin Canning. It's Marcus Stroman. At $17 million a year. Yeah, okay. You don't love it, but I don't know. I think they're going to be just fine. I know it's a big loss. I think they're going to handle the loss well because of the depth that they have and the guys that they have spent money on at the top, plus a guy that I agree with you. I really like Clark Schmidt.
And you also have to realize with Stroman now, Yankees have a better infield behind him defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And, barring a disaster at third base, but they have a better defensive infield. And I think Stroman, if you want to throw in maybe this is something that can get you excited before the year, I think he's going to have a huge chip on his shoulder from this entire offseason. And people are basically writing him off as a washed up starter who is a terrible teammate. And a lot of that stuff has been self-warranted. But I think he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder throwing for the Yankees this year. I always thought, and we all always thought, and he kind of made it obvious that he always wanted to be a Yankee. And so the fact that he is now, and all he heard all offseason was that they want to get rid of him and they want to get rid of his salary, probably is, as a competitor, enough to fuel your fire to give you one last good season. And I don't think Stroman's going to win the Cy Young.
Yeah.
But, 3.9 ERA maybe, that would be awesome.
And for a guy like him having that extra chip on his shoulder, which he already has one, for him to have even more motivation to go out there and pitch well, that's a good thing. And yeah, listen, what if he pitches really well and he gives you a 3.9 ERA and everybody else is healthy and pitching well, and this Will Warren, maybe he's up and pitching well, and Gil comes back. Maybe you're able to move Stroman at the deadline for somebody, a swap of, I have a need, you have a need, to a contender. Hey, here's Stroman. We have too many starting pitchers. Take Stroman.
And the nice thing about Stroman ultimately is you're pretty confident in his ability to make every start.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to miss one here and there. Everyone does. But I'm fairly confident that Stroman will make multiple starts a month for however long as they need him to play. And that's awesome. I mean, how many teams in the league, you root for one of them, would love to have a guy right now in their 4 or 5 spot that they say, okay, we got a couple injuries right now, a couple guys dealing with muscle things, but we know that this guy is going to be good for us. He's going to be out there every day. And what it looks like, we'll find out, but he's going to be out there every day.
No, if Marcus Stroman wasn't the person he was or the salary he was making, I would love to have him on my team.
Absolutely.
Like the player, yeah, I would like that on my team right now, but I don't like Marcus Stroman.
And that's the part of it that is completely self-warranted by Stroman himself. He has brought that upon his own persona and his own reputation because we said it last week or 2 weeks ago, everyone in Toronto, everyone in New York with the Mets at the time, including Yankee fans, and everyone in Chicago with the Cubs was happy when they got rid of Stroman. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants Stroman around. And I think that this has been maybe his least destructive stint of antics with the Yankees.
Apparently he is, according to him, and I think I've heard of a couple of other people say this, like they love him in that locker room.
Yeah, I think they do too, because if you remember last year, all the big wins that the Yankees had in the regular season, and even in the playoffs, Stroman was always standing there, vintage shirt or some Yankees merch, first guy out of the dugout getting pumped. So I do think
nice shirts.
But you can't blame Cashman and Boone and Steinbrenner for just saying, we got to get rid of this contract either. That's part of the business.
Of course not. Yeah, especially if they have other moves they wanted to make, and maybe it prevented them from making other moves. But they're also sitting here today saying, thank God we didn't move Marcus Stroman.
Absolutely. And I think one note here about Rodon's contract that I was thinking of, because I had a friend who, back at the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes was in the boat, and I was in the boat too. I'm pretty sure I said on the show is that we would trade Luis Gil for Kyle Tucker. If he had to be a part of the package and you didn't have to give up a massive prospect haul because you were able to just move Gil, do it. And I was all about selling Gil high if you could get a player like Tucker. And they obviously don't. Gil's hurt now, but that's all a product of how these contracts, Stroman and mainly Rodon, have just handcuffed them in their starting rotation for making moves, because now you have to have these cost-controlled guys because you paid Fried. So you can't go get rid of Gil and then pay Gil, who's making $800,000, and go get Quintana or whoever else is on the market. First of all, they're not going to be better than Gil when he pitches. And second of all, they're going to be worth $15 million more, maybe $10 million more than what you're paying Gil. So it just totally handcuffs what the Yankees want to do, these two pitchers.
Yeah, and plus you're already at a point. I don't know what tax bracket they're at in terms of the luxury tax, but like with the Mets, Quintana wasn't going to cost whatever he got paid. He's going to cost 100 times that, for the team, for ownership. So there's also that aspect of it. Now he only got $4 million. It's a joke that Quintana only got $4 million. It made sense for so many teams because of how valuable he was down the stretch last season. But either way, yeah, 100%.
That was a good contract for the Brewers. That was a really nice late signing for Milwaukee. And we talked about divisions last week. I think it's March 4th today, so we're still about 2 weeks from doing predictions and stuff. But Milwaukee, that was a move to instill confidence in their chances at getting back to the postseason. I want to talk about Jason Dominguez because we didn't last week. He hasn't really made any egregious errors since we spoke last week, I don't think, but we forgot to talk about it before that, where he made 3 egregious errors in the span of 2 games, and he had more in the week before. And we saw him last year make those same mistakes in the regular season in September when he played left field. Is this something that I should actually be freaking out about? I'm not yet. Is it encouraging? Absolutely not. But I'm not freaking out about it till it happens in the regular season. And how would you manage this if you're the Yankees?
The problem is, because I've never seen him play center field, but apparently Dominguez is a solid center fielder. And we know Bellinger is a good center fielder. But Bellinger could easily flip and play left field. Yeah, he hasn't played it in a while, but he's played right, and he's played it before. He could probably play left field. Right? He has the experience. Dominguez doesn't have experience out there, and it seems as though he sucks. And it's really not an easy position to play. Left field is not easy. People will tell you making the transition from center to left is difficult. Now, a guy like Bellinger, who's played all 3 spots in his career, okay, he can make that transition. To put this on a guy that you need to produce at a high level offensively, to put this extra pressure of him learning a new position and being comfortable out there, along with trying to hit, I don't love that. I really don't. I understand wanting to leave him out there all season long, and there were, benefits to this. We need to give Bellinger a day. You just put Grisham in center, whatever. I don't think I would have done this when you need a really good season out of Dominguez offensively.
No, it's frustrating. I think what they're trying to do here is put the 2 best arms on the team in the corners. Obviously, Judge is going to be great and right, but Dominguez, his claim to defense is his arm. I mean, that is his only redeeming quality defensively, is how great his arm is. So I think they're trying to really lock down those corners defensively, but I'm torn because I do think Bellinger is a significantly better center fielder than Dominguez. I don't think Dominguez is an elite center fielder by any means. However, he's good. You're not gonna lose sleep at night with him playing center. Bellinger's just way better out there. Yep. And with a full season of playing center, I think we've seen and will see Bellinger be considered one of the 10, 11 best defensive center fielders. Dominguez is probably somewhere around 20. He has to figure this out in left field, because one thing that I said in November is you have to tell him his role. I might have said this in September when he was struggling, but you have to tell him his role early in the offseason And he has to stay in that role until the World Series ends, whether the Yankees are in it or not. He cannot question his role once this year.
Well, what was he doing all offseason?
I don't know. Clearly not shagging flies in left
field. I mean, what were you doing? Because I agree with that sentiment. Like, you're after the season meetings, whatever you call them. Okay, Jason, we think we want you in left. Then that should have been it. It shouldn't have been he got to spring training, and I don't know what, I think it was predetermined before they got there that he was going to be playing left, but it shouldn't have been, hey, Jason, you're playing left this year. Like, he needed to know that early, October, November.
Yep, and he's terrible. It's clearly at a point that it's mental too, because once you drop the first one, you say, all right, it's February. He's just rusty.
And he's on social media. He sees it. He's hearing it. He knows it. It's out there.
And then he drops the 2 in the next day, and you're like, oh my God, this is totally a mental disaster for him in left field.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, because even I think maybe I'm losing my mind. I think Judge played left once last year and dropped the ball. And am I going crazy? I think Judge had a game in left field where it was Soto, Grisham, Judge from right to left, and Stanton was healthy, so Judge had to play left.
Mm-hmm.
And it was either Judge or Grisham went to left field and dropped the ball. Both of them are Gold Glove outfielders at their position. Left is the toughest of the 3
because the spin on the ball when it's hit to you from a right-handed hitter or something. I remember Nimmo talking about it.
I remember trying, because I played a lot of right field. Not that I was very good at that, but when I'd move to left, rarely I couldn't track the ball at all. And I'm not.
Tails on you.
If Dominguez is having the same problems as me, there's a much larger concern here. But the ball, if you picture it coming at you, it just like hooks so fast down from a right-handed hitter from your left to your right. So if you're a righty and your glove's on your left hand, you're reaching across your body to track the ball every time, and it's a pain to track the ball on left. But once again, if Dominguez is having the same problems as me, we need to get a left fielder. But the mental game that comes into baseball is obviously affecting Dominguez because he's getting crushed out there now. Because even when he catches a ball, you're watching him and you're like, not very.
You don't want to be thinking about that as a fan.
He's clearly not very confident about it when he's making a play. I'm not going to worry about it yet. I think right now they have to let him go through this phase, and they just have to continue to coach him up, continue to stay after practice and grab some extra flies and just make yourself feel better about it. But very concerning because we do see what happens to players, young players who are so bad and lost in the field, and it's clearly a mental thing, and then they can't bring anything to the plate.
It's already enough. We spoke about this. It's already enough being the top prospect, him, Volpe, with the New York Yankees. Like, you're not just the top prospect on your team. It's a different level of pressure. And now to have to worry about this, to have the added pressure of you lose Soto, and now these guys need to step up in this lineup, and I'm throwing Volpe in here as well. It's a lot of pressure. It's even more pressure than any other rookie, any other prospect coming up is going to have to deal with.
All right, let's talk prospects here for a moment because we did get the new MLB prospect lists.
Yes, we did.
Which is always exciting before the season. One of my favorite parts of spring training. Dominguez for the Yankees was number 1. George Lombard was 2. Obviously, Lombard is starting to become a name that Yankee fans are getting excited about. I'm getting excited about him. However,
that's your guy. That's your guy.
Like, this guy is not going to play this year. He's 19. He's played single A. He's not going to play this year.
No, but it's okay to be excited about him. Like, and you posted on Twitter last night, like that swing, and I'm like, I made fun of you for it, but that swing is nice, man. That looks like a legit swing, yeah. In the 8th inning of a spring training game, but it looks like he can play a little bit. It looks like he can play a little bit.
And now, maybe call me reactionary. Maybe I'm just having recency bias. Lombard, to me, because he had a nice summer also, feels like the Yankees' best prospect hitting wise since Volpe a few years ago. I'm more excited about him than I have been about Dominguez. And Spencer
Really?
Jones, while I like him, Spencer Jones is a 200 plus strikeout a year guy in the minors who's 23 years old. Lombard is producing with high average, with high OPS, while at 19 years old. I know he's been in single A, but I'm more excited about him than these other guys.
You're more excited about Lombard than you were about Dominguez at any point during
Yeah,
Dominguez's rise to the top.
because the Dominguez thing, my peak excitement for Dominguez was, well, I'll say the 2-week run he had in the majors 2 years ago was more exciting because he was actually doing it. He came up and he was actually dominating at the plate for 2 weeks. Then he had to get Tommy John.
Right.
But the hype around Dominguez, the problem was I started hearing all over Yankees Twitter about this guy when he was 16 years old. So I got so fatigued by it because it was one of those guys that you just felt like was never going to come up. That's 6 years ago now. He's 22 years old, and he's finally going to get his first run at Major League Baseball. So he's done a full service time with the Yankees already before actually starting his service time with the team.
Yeah.
So I just never got that excited because it was like, all right, you first hear about him and you say, okay, I'm not going to hear about him for another 2-3 years at least. And then you're at that 2-3 year point and you know you're not going to hear about him for another 2 years. So now we're in year 6 and it's just kind of, all right, I'm excited to see him play a full season. I think he's going to hit well, but I'm not pumped. I never got pumped for him like I did with Volpe or with these other guys.
And I think Spencer Jones, kind of the same thing. I think that might become another one of those guys where we've heard about Jones for a couple of years now. You mentioned the struggles last season at AAA. He changed his stance a little bit, sticks the ass out, kind of looks like Ohtani. Looks a little weird, not going to lie. But either way, he also kind of feels like one of those guys. When is he going to get his chance? And it doesn't seem like right now, like they say his ETA is this season. What spot does he have? Like, he doesn't have a spot in the outfield. Does he have could he play first? I know that was a discussion. Could they possibly get him some run at first here? It doesn't really feel like there's a spot at all for him in this season.
And you look at his stats. This is why you can't get super excited about him. I think he could be a very good player, but everyone likes to watch the highlights. But Mike, 2022, his first year with the Yankees, his first summer, he has a 963 OPS. Then he moves up a level the following year to AA. He's got a 780 OPS. Then this past year, he had 780 OPS again. So he's not actually dominating the minor leagues right now.
No.
And he's striking out, as you said. He's leading the league in strikeouts. And since his first summer with the team, he's gone backwards. I would have, in hindsight, you probably should have traded him for Burns last year. Because if that rumor was true, you should have just said, we have Soto. We know we have him for a year. We can get Burns for the year also. And then you probably could have just extended Burns, or you would have signed Fried, and it's no harm done. It's just, I don't know. I don't get that excited for Jones the way I'm getting for Lombard right now, but he's 19, and maybe this year he hits 224 with a 765 OPS, and then that hype's gone.
Warren's a guy. He made appearances last year in Major League Baseball.
He did, and he was terrible, but they needed him for a few different spots in the summer. He was awful. I think he had an 8 ERA in 3 or 4 outings.
That's good.
But this year, you can see there's a clear mechanics change.
They've got him in their lab. He looks good. There's legit excitement around him, and I would be too if I was a Yankees fan.
Yeah, so that's exciting. You got this guy, Manny Cedeno, born in 2008, is the 15th ranked prospect.
That's crazy.
His ETA is 2030. That's frightening. Why is the Yankees' 15th best prospect born in 2008? How old is that? 16?
He's 16 currently, yes.
He's a shortstop.
Doesn't even have his driver's license. He still gets driven to practice by his parents. Like that's legit.
Yeah, he's 16 years old, born August 14th, 2008. And you look at his picture, he's literally a sophomore in high school. In his like that's what he looks like.
Scary. 8 years. I'm 8 years older than that guy.
That's frightening because I'm 60. That's frightening. I'm 6 years older than that guy. And because remember the time where you get to the point where like 18 and 19-year-olds are getting drafted and you're saying, oh man, I'm getting to that age. Now this kid's really like young.
That happened to me with Zion. I was Zion's age when he got drafted, and I was like, yeah, this is depressing.
I think for me, what would it have been? I don't even know who the first person I realized was, but I remember
Zion.
I was sitting there watching the NBA draft, and I'm a freshman in college, and I was just saying to myself, these kids are about to lock in $100 million guaranteed from a shoe deal and playing hoops, and I'm just paying so much money for an education right now that I'm doing
Hofstra.
Like, why am I not on the Hawks right now?
A lot went wrong. A lot went wrong for you. Clearly,
literally nothing in my path to first pick in the NBA draft went right.
Yeah,
not one thing that had to happen happened.
I'd love to see that story. That alternate universe story.
All right, what else do we have to do here? Mets prospects. Let me pull them up.
We got a 17-year-old in the top 10.
Yeah.
The
2008 birthday or 2007 birthday?
A 2007 birthday. This is the guy they got in the international pool, the guy that they got because they didn't sign Sasaki, Pena, the shortstop.
Yep.
He's 17. He's their 9th best prospect already.
That's big. That stood out to me yesterday when I saw it. I didn't realize that that's who they got.
Yeah.
In that scenario, but to have a player at 9 ahead of Mauricio Gilbert, that's very significant. That's no joke. And these guys obviously could go either way over the next few years, these 17-year-olds, but that feels very promising.
No, it does. And again, when they made that signing, it was, everybody was upset because they did not get Sasaki. And a lot of people had said he is just an unbelievable hitter at the plate. Defensively, he might switch positions at some point, but right now he's a shortstop. Offensively, got a great eye for the plate and hits with power and for contact and has a ton of speed. Kevin, I'm looking at the top of this. We've talked about Sprout for a little while. He's going to make an impact on this team. It's just a matter of when. I'm very excited to see when that happens, but I don't think it's going to happen until the middle of the year. But we talked about Christian Scott last season as that potential guy, the next big Mets pitching prospect. And he obviously had Tommy John. It's not him. It's this kid. It's this kid that's going to be that next ace, I think, for the Mets.
And you got to always remember a couple of these guys at the top of these rankings are not realistic call-ups because you want to wait until you can manipulate their service time. So they're not going to start the year with the team. You're going to have to roll with the veterans, which is usually better off anyways. Let them get going in spring training and then they come up. But I look at the Mets 2 through 5 guys in this, maybe 2 through 5. I'm not overly excited by where do they rank in Major League Baseball?
Jet Williams.
I'm excited about. So call it 3 through. But where do the Mets rank as a farm in Major League Baseball?
I think they're middle of the pack right now, a little closer to the top. Carson Bench, he was their first round pick last season.
Yeah.
Big outfielder, a lot of pop. Clifford's a guy they got in the Verlander deal. Very excited about him. He's got a lot of power as well. Yeah. And Nolan McLean is a two-way player, Kevin. Two-way player, yes. Nolan McLean. But I think he's going to end up being a pitcher.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but does it not feel like the Mets are more depth-oriented than top-heavy?
That would be the case, and I think this is a good thing because they're going to need to trade for an arm, most likely the deadline, and this is the first time in a while I feel like the Mets have the farm system to say, hey, we can get rid of a couple of the guys at the top of our list here. Not 1 and 2. I wouldn't get rid of – I would trade Williams for the right player. I would not trade Sprout. I would not give him up for many guys. But everybody else can go.
Right now he's the 46th ranked prospect, Sprout, in Major League Baseball. And where is he ranked by pitchers? Can't say that. Give me top 10. What's the deal with Sasaki? How long does he have to be in AAA?
I don't think he has to be in AAA.
So he just has to be. I think he does for a little bit.
I don't think so. I think he's going to start.
He doesn't have to be there for April?
I don't think so. I think he's just going to be, if they deem him ready, he's going to be a starter in Major League Baseball. I think he's pitching that Tokyo series. That's why him and
okay, yeah. So he won't be allowed to occupy a 40-man roster spot until opening day. The day of opening day is when the Dodgers can put him on. They can't put him on that prior.
Okay.
So that was the thing. I thought he had to wait until through April.
No, he's up, ready to go,
Yeah,
ready to
right.
dominate the league.
He is pitching in that first.
But is that opening day for them, or is opening day?
Because last year it wasn't.
They get a lot of advantages, especially with the Ohtani thing and the roster manipulation with Ohtani. They get a lot of advantages for having him.
No, their opening day is March 18th.
So he's got to be on the roster so they can bring him up March 18th on the 40-man.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wonder if the guys on the team enjoy that.
What?
Getting to play in Tokyo a week before opening day.
I can't see that being
at 3:10 a.m. I mean, who even watches that? If the Mets were playing at 3:10 in the morning in Tokyo on a Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, it's a Tuesday morning, so it's a Monday night. Are you able to watch 9 innings of that game?
I'd have to work my sleep schedule around it. I probably would watch it, especially if it was early in the year like that.
I'd probably record it and watch it when I woke up.
Like I don't work in the mornings right now, so I probably would watch it, be honest with you, for a little bit, and then just go back to sleep. So yeah, I think I would watch it. I'm a freak. I think I would watch it.
Because if the Yankees played in Tokyo at 3:10 a.m., and I mean Dodgers are playing the Cubs.
I think it's 6 a.m. Eastern though. I think it's 6 a.m. Eastern.
Oh yeah, because this is okay. Yeah, okay, that's different.
I'm definitely up at 6 to watch.
Yeah, but it still stands though because a Dodgers fan is watching it at 3 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, I think I would. I think I would wake up.
Because if the Yankees played that early, I think if they were playing the equivalent would probably Yankees Royals or Yankees Guardians to Dodgers Cubs, I'd say I'm recording this game and watching it at like 8 o'clock when I wake up, and I'm just making breakfast and now watching that game.
You're not going to put on the radio. You're not going to look at your phone. You're just going to watch the game.
I have nothing to do that day. But then again, it's a weekday, so I'm probably got some work to do, probably have something going on, and then I'm not sacrificing my sleep because I'm going to be sitting there at 8. It's like I got to watch the condensed game when I wake up.
I think I would watch it.
Because that's just misery at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day when you were up since 3 and you're going to work. Like you're just starting your work day.
Yeah. No, it would be. You got to pop a bunch of coffees and just.
And then they play the next morning again. So you have to do it again?
It's so stupid. And and you know what's funny? The only thing I remember about it from last season was Ohtani getting the interpreter getting arrested because that was
that was it.
That's the only memory I have of that week, those 2 games, excuse me.
I was thinking of it this morning. The fact that Ohtani had 50-50 won the MVP in the World Series after that, and that just got totally forgotten about, is amazing.
Because that was Major League Baseball.
That was exactly what they needed to happen.
I actually don't think he did it anymore. I don't think he was gambling. I know a lot of people think like, oh, he was definitely gambling. Like, they wouldn't send the guy to jail for 5 years if it was actually Ohtani and they knew about it.
I think it's a little fishy still, the whole story, but I don't think Ohtani was gambling.
No, because then you hear I heard the recordings of him actually like committing the bank fraud, like wiring the money to himself, and it's legit.
I think so too, but you look at it and you're like, how did this guy who really hasn't cashed in a massive, massive way, and he's not making $50 million a year right now, how did this guy not realize there were $4.5 million missing from his account? That is where I was like, I think he knew that the translator was gambling, and maybe they were trying to fix the problem without him getting arrested or without him having to report it.
Yeah.
I think that might have been what happened. But there is no evidence to suggest Ohtani gambled.
No. Would have been interesting, though.
And then Ippei in this trial is like the biggest gambling addict of all time.
Bad.
Embarrassing levels of...
I wouldn't even consider that stuff.
bad stuff. You got to almost feel bad for Ippei.
Yeah.
Gambling.
Going to jail. Tough.
Yeah, all right. Ready to wrap up here?
Yeah, ready to wrap up. I like this comment here, though. I would like to find a bookie that allows me to have... I would too, actually, to be honest with you.
$25 million line of credit. It's ridiculous. That's why this whole story, all around, there are so many details that just seem surreal. They could not have happened. And they did, but somebody had to have known. There had to have been something more going on.
It's like when you hear about what he was gambling on, like,
I know.
Girls volleyball, like, oh my God.
Shameless.
Yeah. I've been
just
on crazy
disgusting stuff, levels of throwing away money. That's not even your own.
Yeah.
And think about that guy's life. He had literally the number one job in the world in his field. To be a translator, translating Japanese to English, the number one client on the planet is Shohei Ohtani. And you would have been sitting there every day with Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki now. The three biggest Japanese athletes in the world.
That's what addiction's so bad. Your boy, what's his name? What's your guy's name? Ramsey.
Oh, Dave.
He was talking to I watched the clip about how bad like he's like sports gambling isn't a hobby, it's a full-blown addiction. Like I read this whole thing about what he said. I don't know when he said it, but
look at our boy Craig Carton.
I know it's bad, but that wasn't sports. That was just regular.
It was regular, but good people just getting with big money, thinking money's just expendable.
Yep.
All right, we'll wrap it up there on the gambling lecture.
Yeah. I stopped gambling, although I placed a bet last night, but I stopped gambling.
All right. See, you can't just say that.
I had stopped gambling for about 2.5 weeks, and then I placed a bet last night, and I won, though.
You can't say I stopped gambling, but I placed a bet last night, but I stopped gambling.
I did. I did stop, but I won.
That means... Don't they say that's the number one thing that addicts tell you? I can stop whenever.
Yeah, I can stop whenever. I did stop, but I wanted some action on a game last night.
What can I ask? What?
Yeah, I was sitting with my friend, and he had money on Houston, Kansas, and I was like, "All right, just send it to me."
All right, episode 36 of the Boroughs. Find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts afterwards. As always, we'll be back next week. I don't think we'll have anything more for this week, but we'll be back next week, and then maybe the week after, starting 2 a week. And we're starting to try and get some interviews here too, so stay tuned for those every week. Mike, any final words?
All good.
Good app. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Check out BTO, Instagram, TikTok, and the Boroughs on Twitter for more content and short content.